Horns were blown and trumpets brayed, and the Mumakil bellowed as they were goaded to war. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Third Age Reforged. I am your host, Indie Pride, and Umbar, the great Corsair haven, is under assault. The ancestors of Castamir the Usurper long ago lay claim to the title Lord of Ships and became a tyrannical despot of the south, stand ready to defend their legendary port city from the collective might of the Knights of Dol Amroth and the hordes of Far Harad. But they won't be working together. No, absolutely not. This is a three-way war for control of the harbor, with Synn and the Dark Cloud and cannon fodder defending their capital city. A very powerful one, with some brutal choke points in defensible positions, and a fortified plaza at the pinnacle. Belegar footmen forming phalanxes to meet the enemy head-on at each of the choke points, and Corandal leads the charge for the Principality of Dol Amroth, blue banners and silver armor flashing in the evening light. Their heavily armored knights should be able to establish a foothold inside the city, but will they be able to hold it is the question, once Umbar artillery and General's bodyguardians can be brought to bear inside. The narrow streets should make for some pretty devastating zones of control, but there are a lot of heavily armored knights and men-at-arms for the armies of Dol Amroth. Further away, still marching on the city, is the army commanded by Miles and Davis, filled with the heavily armored men-at-arms and knights you've come to expect from Dol Amroth. And finally, in the back, Son of Imladris, commanding the final Dol Amroth army. Poor guy never gets to play the elves, feels bad, man. But he has a more eclectic mix of troops, some coastal wardens, javelin troops, skirmishers, the Haven Guard, who are brutal experts with their two-handed swords, and of course the Knights of the Silver Swan. And across the river that bisects the Haven of Umbar march the hordes of Far Harad, Southron Warband, Serpent Guard, bunch of archers on the field as well, currently trading some shots with the defenders up on the walls, the Muhad tribesmen, Beastmasters, and of course, the Mumakil, who you can see on the horizon in the background there as we're moving closer. Catapult shots coming in. The Mumakil are the scariest shock force in all of Middle-earth. And what's the best way to start off a battle? Well, get your general burned to a crisp right at the start of it. What the hell, man? That part was hilarious. Son of Imladris was trying to snipe my Mumakil early on, and ended up just smacking my general in the face. So, 2 minutes into the game, my general is already dead, and it's not ideal, I'll say that. Good thing in Reforged, most of the units and factions in general don't really have too many morale problems. Most of them, or many of them anyway, will fight to the death, but what a crazy way to start a battle, man. So, over on this side, we have Hung Lo, commanding a Muhad-themed army, so a lot of Muhad tribesmen, a lot of javelins, a lot of skirmish troops, lighter armored stuff, berserkers, but he also has the Beastmasters, who ride camels into battle, and he's going to be fighting over a absolutely brutal choke point. The Belegar archers up top on the walls have a really nice angle to fire in on a lot of low armor troops, so they'll be able to shred through them pretty easily. Not to mention, the choke point is absolutely devastatingly brutal. Let's take a look at it right here. Look at that. Super narrow with a catapult set up right above, and a phalanx shield wall here, or a halberd wall rather, just designed to completely choke point everything in there, stick them into combat, make sure they can't move, and then the flaming catapult shots will absolutely destroy any kind of blob. So Hung Lo is going to have to be real careful over on this side of the battlefield if he wants to avoid getting completely shish kebabbed and turned to cinders by the overwhelming range firepower that the Haven of Umbar are going to be fielding in this location. But the tribesmen are charging in now, streaming in. Let's go up to the top of the defense here. There will be a few frame rate issues in this game, nothing too bad. It is a really big battle though. We've got about 22,000 men on the field and a huge, gigantic city, so it stands to reason, but shouldn't be much of a problem. Now, as an attacker, this is one of those situations where you kind of have to just take what's given to you, right? Hung Lo has a bunch of low armor troops. He's attacking a spear wall. He's in a bad spot. He knows it. He knows the catapult's going to put the hurt on him. But you just kind of have to suck it up and hope you still have an army once you're successfully able to push through. You really can't afford to go all the way around. He'll show up too late to the battle. He needs to just break through this part of the city, and hopefully he can. But with that gigantic blob and a bunch of Muhad tribesmen and javelin men and berserkers that are much better operating on an open battlefield as opposed to going right into melee combat with heavily armored stuff, that might be pretty tough going for him, so we'll see. A lot of archers up top, ripping through the Southron warband who are making their move. to engage the choke points over on this side of the battlefield. Again, another pretty strong phalanx, pretty strong shield wall, spear wall there with the Beliger footmen, and they should be able to hold the confluence of the river and that choke point right there and prevent anything from breaking through for at least a while. Southron Warband not going to have a very good time in that engagement. But the Muhad tribesmen, the javelins, get some really good shots in on the archers and some of the Casimirs chosen in the back lines. This should be a really tough fight. The catapult's winding up now. And you know what that means, right? Look at that choke point. Look at how much Hung Lo has committed to this part of the battle already. Not able to pull through. There's too much mass there. Casimir's chosen and all those high-tier elite Haven of Umbar units will really not make it very easy for the low, lighter mass troops, the lightly armored Muhad tribesmen to push through. So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, man, with flaming balls about to get dropped on their heads. That's a lot of berserkers and a lot of stuff just shoved into that choke point. And while I did say, yeah, you kind of just have to take it, at the same time, I'm not sure you have to blow up quite that bad, because that is just the most glorious sight ever if you are rocking with a catapult here. This is Cannon Fodder's, or maybe this is in the Dark Clouds catapult. It's just your absolute dream, right? Like, that's your wet dream, man. Look at that army, and the catapult's going to unleash now. Unleash balls of death and utter destruction and carnage and terror ensues. And the Muhad tribesmen line the Southron peoples here. That's just a nightmare, man. I don't know how many of those shots killed. Probably already close to 100. That was only 2. They've got a lot more ammunition. Hung Lo might have to rethink his plan of attack over there. Here, Karandal and Synn the Dark Cloud are engaging in this choke point as the Spears of Dol Amroth charge in. Very heavily armored troops. Should be a tough fight for both sides here. And up at the other choke point, it looks like already the Principality of Dol Amroth is breaking through. That was pretty easy, actually. That was pretty easy to get inside the city. I'm not sure they actually committed enough up there. And it looks like one of the catapults, actually, for the Haven of Umbar is already down. So, yeah, they probably should have found a better spot for that. I'm sure that catapult got some kills while we were on other parts of the battlefield. But, yeah, these Corsair Blackguards and the Haven of Umbar garrison over on this side just got absolutely demolished very early on. Now, like I said, that part was going to fall pretty easily. It's more a question of, can the Dol Amroth Knights push further inside the city without getting absolutely eviscerated by the rest of the artillery? We'll see. Over here, Southron Warband, myself and J-Monster are trying to push through. Cannon Fodder doing a good job in this choke point here with his shield wall. And again, they'll be able to hold for a very long time. We're just going to send in our fodder for the start. We don't want to send in our Servant Guard or anything high tier yet. Just let the Warband take all the arrow fire and the arrows in loose formation and all that stuff. Not too worried about the Southron Warband, to be honest. They're not going to be important. Just wear down the garrison a little bit, and then we can send in the heavy stuff a little bit later on. And Mumakil will definitely be something we want to hold on to the later stages of this game. You commit them too early, that means catapults can snipe them. That means the javelins on both sides, the Dol Amroth and the Haven of Umbar, both have a lot of jav units that can absolutely shred Mumakil. So don't want to commit them too early. Nice shot from the catapult, or the trebuchet there. And the trebuchets in 3rd Age Reforged have obscene range. I don't know if that gets customized for these scenarios, or if that's how far it can actually shoot in regular battles as well, but goddamn, it shoots super far. You're about, I don't even know that, I mean, they was able to shoot from across the river, clear across the river, and almost get on my Mumakil, which are way in the back, so it's pretty crazy how far they can shoot. But it will be a, yeah, look at that thing's firing again. Anyway, so we see the Knights of the Silver Swan making their move. Some of the Dol Amroth Knights are now making their way across the river to start harrying and harassing the back lines of the Haradrim. Mumakils want to stay far away from that trebuchet. Just bad news for them. Don't want to be losing any of those big Oliphants anytime soon. And a lot of the Muhad tribesmen and trolls of Far Harad have started backing the hell out of that fight, realizing, Hung Lo has realized, that maybe I should not be quite that blobbed up in this choke point. It's going to be just absolutely disastrous if I keep my army stuck in there for too long. Yes, he's going to have to push through. Yes, he's going to have to commit a lot of troops, but maybe not the entire army. For the moment, he is holding on to his Mumakil on the back lines, though, making sure they don't get committed, which I think is pretty smart. And Berserker is going to work against some of these Haven of Umbar heavily armored troops. So this fight will be going on for a while here. Tough going. Archer's still firing in from above, and Catapult probably easily already over 200 kills at this point. It's unfortunate we're not going to be able to get to see their kills at the end of the battle, but I will imagine by the time this fight over here is over, whether Hung Lo is able to push through or not, it will have quite an impressive kill count. And what else are we serving on the menu? More crispy tribesmen. More crispy tribesmen. More of those devastating catapult shots, man. Oh my god. Oh, that was so brutal. Killed like 30 or 40 in one shot, and they each killed like 30 or 40. So yeah, another 80 kills easily on those catapults in that street. Man, feel bad for Hung Lo. I'm glad I didn't pick that army. That's just not a fun spot for anybody except cannon fodder or Synn of the Dark Cloud, whoever's catapult that is. That's just brutal stuff. Over here, some knights or some men-at-arms of Dol Amroth kind of pushed across the bridge, and they're now stuck in between a rock and a hard place, getting sandwiched from both sides. And the Southron warband going to work still on those Belaguer footmen, wearing them down slowly. But the Principality of Dol Amroth have engaged with their cavalry, and now the Serpent Guard and the Southron Lancers have sallied out, and they're engaging. We have a big cab battle brewing over here. It is very tough to beat Dol Amroth, Knights of the Silver Swan, or White Knights in close quarters combat. Some of the best heavy cav in the game. Nice downhill charge here from some of the horse archers, but didn't really actually get their full charge bonus off, actually didn't look like. They were able to tie down the Coastal Wardens, the jab troop. Didn't get very many kills off the charge, though. And White Knights are sallying out. A lot of powerful heavy cavalry are coming to save the day. Spearmen pushing across, and Son of Imladris is making a full-on attack across the ford here. Pretty ballsy, but I love that move. A lot of gusto, a lot of cojones, a lot of faith in his skill as a player to be able to push across that river and expect to win. And I like it. I like seeing these kind of strategies in a multiplayer game, a big scenario like this one, someone taking the initiative and deciding to attack in what might not necessarily be the best spot for a player, but if he's able to strike with a lot of decisiveness here, he might be able to put a serious hurting on the Haradrim's left flank, so on J-Monsters and my own armies. And those jabs, Coastal Wardens and some of the Nimrodal Rangers doing work against these low armored troops. The Muha jabs are getting ripped apart here. Look at that. Tribesmen just getting slaughtered by the dozens by those volleys because of their low armor value. And so we've had to kind of move our entire left flank and commit a lot of forces over here that we didn't actually expect to have to commit. So pretty interesting attack here from Son of Imladris, and it might just pay off. So here another big charge coming in. This time the archers, horse archers, will get a decent charge in, but a close range volley from Coastal Wardens. Very smart to have them in guard mode. Able to fire, of course, when they get tied down in melee as well if they're in guard mode. Did a lot of damage. Another big charge into the Rangers here. Taking them off the field will be very important because the Haradrim in general have low armor. So those Rangers and the Coastal Wardens especially will do so much damage to you if you let them get any time to fire. So with the lightly armored stuff, we need to get the Serpent Guard and our horse archers, the mounted Hoshari, into melee and just start slaughtering these Blackroot Vale archers and these skirmish troops, or we'll be taking way too many losses. Southron Lancers getting a charge in, now pulling the hell out of combat. They don't want to be sticking around too long there against Knights of the, or White Knights. Sallying out now, and bunch of cav just went down. So it's a tough cav fight for sure. Haradrim have some nice cav units, but I don't think they can actually take on the heavy Gondorian stuff with anything but their Serpent Guard. So yeah, it's going to be a brutal cav fight for sure. And the Haradrim are actually making some headway here. The front ranks have died. The Berserkers are cutting through quite nicely, but they have left so many of their dead. Oh my god, look at those blobs of crispy charred tribesmen and more in the background. Another gigantic shot from the catapult. It's gonna immolate a huge group of trollmen. And that's a good unit to take off the field if you're the Haven of Umbar. You do not want to be engaging trollmen in melee. They're scary in Reforged from what I remember. Let's shift over here and see how Karandal and this Dol Amroth army are doing. So they have pushed through. Many of them are bloodied. They were the first ones to strike first blood, I believe. But they're pushing through now, and now engaging at the bottom of the ramp. And kind of taking over everything here. But this is, like I said, this is where the heavy cav can now start making a pretty big impact. There are actually some Corsair units on the ramp firing in on the heavily armored stuff from above with their jabs. That's armor-piercing stuff from very close range. That will wreak quite a toll. Corsair Blackguards will hurt those heavily armored knights for sure. Nice jab throws. And you can see quite a few models dropping there. Quite a few men-at-arms getting shish kebabbed on the end of those javelins, and it'll allow those Corsair bodyguard units to get some really nice charges in as well once it gets on a more open plain inside the city. So it is choke pointy in there, of course, but there are some open spots for Cav to get some big charges off. Over here, we've got a huge fight. Son of Imladris has fully committed at this point. A lot of his men-at-arms and knights of the Silver Swan have engaged. A lot of his dismounted stuff as well. And here comes some more heavy cav. The Gondorian heavy cav looking to get around the flank. Knights of the Silver Swan, if they can get a hammer and anvil off here, could definitely shift this entire battle in Son of Imladris' favor. Some very nice charges come in from the cav. And the Serpent Guard and the Hashari are just getting completely swarmed and overwhelmed by all this heavy cav. And I don't know if they can handle them. Serpent Guard have actually wreaked quite a terrible toll on the Gondorian Knights of Dol Amroth lines, but is that enough? General's gonna go down here. Another general for Haradrim, that was J-Monsters, just went down. And again, morale shock's not the biggest issue in Reforged because so many units have great morale. I was about to say leadership, too much Warhammer. But yeah, I mean, this has been a crazy fight. Son of Imladris has done quite a bit of damage. The only thing I can say about this attack that I didn't like is, and it's not really his fault, he's not really able to get his archers or his coastal wardens into a great position because of the cav fights on the flanks. Once he wins though, he could get some of those coastal wardens around, and once he gets some rear shots off, that could spell absolute disaster for the Haradrim on the left flank. This fight's still going on. Now some pikemen have gotten added to the mix. It's probably going to be going on for a very, very long time. Neither of those units, either for the Haven of Umbar or for the Haradrim, are particularly known for their high attack values. So kind of a defensive, grinded out melee fest going on over there. And let's shift back over. So some cavalry, some heavy infantry moving into the plaza now, moving into the center of the Haven of Umbar. Blackroot Vale archers moving up to get some skirmishing done. And pretty soon, I think Corondol is going to want to start committing his troops to the main plaza. Belfalas Marines doing a bit of skirmishing. Warlords of Umbar getting shredded by those jabs at close range. And just continuously, more stuff is streaming in. Just a gigantic battle, man. That's what I love about Reforged in general. Everything about this battle screams like it's something that actually happened, something that's real. And there's just, you can't get this kind of scale in any other kind of Total War game. It simply doesn't work. You can't do it in Shogun 2, can't do it in Warhammer, can't do it in any of the other games. You cannot have 24,000 men on the field without just unwatchability, without massive, gigantic frame rate drops. And in this, yeah, Medieval 2 is an old game, but I personally think it's aged well. And when you start adding Lord of the Rings and a bit of fantasy elements to it as well, it just makes for just absolutely amazing battles. And this one is absolutely no exception. It's been a crazy one so far. Serpent Guard pushing through. These are my general's bodyguard, engaging the Knights of the Silver Swan and White Knights as more Belfalas Marines move across the river. Even more men-at-arms coming now. Even more Marines crossing the ford, looking to get stuck in. And a lot of carnage has ensued. But we do have a secret ingredient. A shock troop that could possibly change how this is going. The Ashari are in the background. They'll maybe be able to commit into melee. Serpent Guard, dismounted Serpent Guard are starting to get stuck in, and they'll definitely be a very nice frontline troop. But the Mumakil, this is what we've all came for. This is what we want to watch. The Mumakil charges. Made famous, of course, by their epic charge at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, where horns were blown, where trumpets brayed, where dark Southron war chants chilled the Rohirrim to their very bones, and where King Theoden led one of the most iconic, one of the most cinematic moments in movie history with his ride into the midst of the Mumakil. And one of the most tactically stupid things I could possibly imagine. Take them head on. A row of 20 gigantic war elephants 500 times bigger than a horse you want to charge right into. Yeah. He didn't have a lot of time to think about it. That's true. And they changed their tactics pretty quickly with the horse archers, but you just gotta feel bad for those guys who got stomped. Like these ones right here. Knights of the Silver Swan getting demolished by that Mumakil charge. But, yeah, somebody needed to tell Theoden King, not every problem in Middle-earth can be solved by a cavalry charge. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, I guess. Even bigger hammers. Great scene, though. I loved it. God, I love those movies. Anyway, catapults reaping their terrible toll in the middle of the Serpent Guard. And the Haradrim are swarming here as the Principality of Dol Amroth swarms across the river. More trebuchet shots, just spelling absolute carnage in the back lines. Immolating a bunch of Serpent Guard. And now the Mumakil are pushing out, chasing down those knights, making sure they can't get into the squishy targets in the back lines. The Shari and the archers who are pouring in a lot of fire will be able to do a lot of damage if the Knights of the Silver Swan can't get into the midst of them. But those cavalry charges could be so game-changing here, especially if Dol Amroth is able to save some cav for the late game, maybe get some rear charges on the stuff that's stuck in the choke points at each flank outside the city. Could be completely game-changing there. Trebuchet is doing so much work though. Still landing some good shots, but a lot of units are in loose formation in the back lines. Dismounted Serpent Guard and a big old spaghetti line there waiting to engage, but being held in reserve for now. No point committing and blobbing up too much, giving the trebuchets a lot of time to fire and get some really nice shots off. Muhad tries to get some close range volleys into the Dol Amroth men-at-arms, who are now dropping their shields and wading into melee, and the tribesmen will not enjoy that combat. They have no armor to speak of. Oh, another big shot, but that time only actually got 3 or 4 units there. 3 or 4 men killed in that shot. But Mumakil are looking to now shift into the flank of the Dol Amroth line. And that could be completely disastrous for the Gondorians. If they're able to charge in from the flank here, they could completely shatter the front line. And you just don't want to deal with 5 roaring elephants stomping through your infantry formations. It's just not very beneficial to anybody's health. Coastal Warden's getting some brutal point-blank volleys with those jabs into the front of those Trollmen of Harad. Mumakil still biding their time, still stomping on some knights on the flanks. And the general for the Principality of Dol Amroth, at least Son of Imladris' general, will go down as the Haven Guard now make their way across the river. And they are terrifying. And here come the Mumakil. Here come the Mumakil, stomping into the middle of the Coastal Wardens, smashing everything, tossing them into the air like the ragdolls they are. Bring them down, bring them down, bring them down. Bunch of Coastal Wardens all pouring in fire. That's a lot of jabs focus firing on them right now. A bunch of Rangers shooting in on them as well. And the Mumakil are doing a ton of damage in the back lines, but how long will they survive with that many jabs shooting in? Point blank volley, gonna drop one almost instantaneously. More stomping, more pancaking, more blood spurting everywhere, and tons of jabs going down, but point-blank volleys from the skirmishers doing a number on them. And the Mumakil are just getting covered in blood now, and that's a bad sign. They're not really getting moved that much, and 2 of them go down. A little bit of a visual bug where they look like they're alive for a couple seconds more. Entire unit just pretty much slaughtered. Yeah, they got some nice charges in the back there, but didn't do quite as much damage as they probably wanted to. Weren't even able to take out all the skirmishers, and certainly didn't get the hammer and anvil they wanted off. And all 5 Mumakil will fall in one big pile of death and blood and gory disgustingness. Just a big pile of dead elephants. And Son of Imladris did a great job there shutting down those Mumakil. I think they ended up getting quite a bit of kills, but they could have done so much more if those jabs hadn't focused fire on them. So really well played there. And J Monster's now pushing up with his Southron Warband and his pikemen waiting in. The Haven Guard will now move past the dead Mumakil and engage in melee, as well as the Haradrim are actually getting a bit blobbed up around the front lines. It's definitely looking like the Haradrim will win this fight. Question is, how many deaths can the Dol Amroth Knights force on the Haradrim forces? Trebuchet still firing in. There are some big blobs there. You get some really nice shots off, and there is still a little bit of cav left. White Knights on the prowl, They could do quite a number on these archers, Southron archers in the back lines, who are in loose formation, and there are not very many of the knights left. But with that said, a small contingent of heavily armored knights in Reforged can do absolute wonders for you. In fact, I would honestly, if I was summoning blunders here, probably just pull them back and try to save those guys for the late game. You never know how or what kind of impact a fresh heavy cav unit can make once it gets to the very late stages of a game. Can completely slaughter entire infantry formations with a single charge. So yeah, he can take out the archers here, but he has nothing left to save, right? This front line is just the Haven Guard at this point, and maybe a few men at arms. Haven Guard have made it into melee now. Yeah, they've just now made it into melee, and never underestimate a unit of fresh Haven Guard either. We're now waiting into melee against a bunch of tired Southron pikemen, Southron warband. They could very easily get 200, 300, 400 kills without even breaking a sweat. So while it does look like Dol Amroth and the Gondorians here will get overrun, Haven Guard, so strong. One of the best infantry units in the game, I believe. Although, to be honest, the whole stat system in Reforged has changed so much from 3rd Age 3.2 that it's kind of hard to know what's absolutely incredible or not. But yeah, Haven Guard are fantastic with those two-handed swords. They'll do quite a number on the Haradrim line. So yeah, if I was Imladris, pull the remnants of the White Knights back. Don't worry about the archers, they're really not that important. Save the cav for the late game. It's not what he's going for. He's going to rip up stuff though. Like, even with all this focus fire coming in from all the Southron archers, with that kind of armor value, they just don't die very easily. Even firing in from the flank or from the rear, the cav just will not die, and they'll be able to continuously pull through, get some nice charges off, and make a big impact here. Shari and some other stuff closing into melee, getting a few kills, but honestly there's probably more friendly fire going on than anything else. So Imladris has been stopped. His army is in disarray. I believe he does have some units left in the central plaza. Balance bar for Harad does not look good. They took tons of casualties in this fight. And Miles and Davis and Corandel probably still have a big chunk of their armies left, because they really didn't face as much resistance over in the fight for the city. At least not yet. Choke points have kind of made it so that not the entire armies can't be brought to bear. At least not at the moment. This fight's still going on next to the river. The Belagar footmen doing a great job holding that line, using their shield wall to hold back the Southron warband. And over here, the Muhad army, led by Hung Lo, has pushed through. Charge coming in now to some men-at-arms with the Berserkers and with the Tribesmen wading into melee. See how they do. Probably not very well. Low armor stuff generally does not fare well against Dol Amroth men-at-arms, but you never really know. And some nice jabs could turn things a bit in their favor. And remember that Hung Lo's Mumakil are still alive as well, so there is another full unit of Mumakil that could rear its presence in the later stages of this game. And the final assault here has begun towards the central plaza, trying to get at that capture point, Corandel in the front lines with some Haven Guard and some other heavily armored Dol Amroth Knights, engaging the pikemen and spears on the slope. And this ascendance moving up this ramp is going to be so, my god, dude, massive line of destruction there, cutting a swath of fiery death through the Gondorian line. My god, another one. Wow, dude, that is actually insane. How many did that kill? There's no way to know. That was probably easily 50. That cut probably more than that, man. Look at that. Look at how many units are stuck in that. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't even know what to say about that. Like, there's nothing you can do as an attacker in this situation, right? You just have to hope you have the numbers. I guess you can not commit everything forward. He's going to try to push through, probably. Miles and Corandel don't want to stick around after those catapult shots. Those were absolutely punishing volleys. But, man, that was insane. They got lucky right there. Another one missed, and another shot, dude. This is looking super bad for Dol Amroth and the attackers right now. A lot of elites are getting committed, and a lot of them are just getting burned alive inside their armor, immolated by these catapult shots. And it's very rare to see that kind of shot where the ramp just works perfectly with the line of sight the catapult has, so that the shot just continues through the entire unit instead of just landing in the middle of it and kind of exploding there, which you think sounds worse, but when you're able to carry through that long line of troops, utter carnage. Wow, that was some serious damage there. I'd be really interested to see what kind of killing that catapult did at the end of the game. Shifting back over to the fight with Son of Imladris, the Haven Guard have actually maybe not done quite as well as I expected them to do. They're already looking pretty worse for the wear at this point. Taking a bunch of casualties. Trebuchet still trying to provide support. Still getting some shots in. And the Rangers and Coastal Warden still getting some shots as well. But yeah, pretty much everything. I think he might have pulled back a few units across the river. Yeah, he pulled a few units back across the river. But yeah, brutal fights everywhere. As if you've seen my 3rd Age Reforged content before, you know that's how we do things. We go for some pretty brutal combat inside these cities. Getting a slice across the chest, a stab through the back, and then stabbing the ground, because that's what Medieval 2 animations look like. Fighting near the mosques here, or I guess the repurposed mosques. Here in the Haven of Umbar, shifting across the bridge. The assault is still ongoing. And they've finally gotten to a better position here. Actually, yeah, they've tied down the catapult. Catapult will not be able to get any more shots off. Did it do enough? Did the catapult and its flaming ammunition do enough to push back the tides of knights and men-at-arms? Harbingers of Castamere now looking to get stuck in. Their dual blades. Assassin-type troops with some pretty heavy armor, actually. Some of the more elite stuff for the Haven of Umbar still waiting to get committed. But it has been a brutal, torrid affair so far. Death and destruction everywhere. Blackroot Vale archers trying to provide some support from range. It's been a fun battle, man. Really enjoyed this one so far. And we still have yet another unit of Mumakil. You can still wait for them and the Muhad Beastmasters to try to make their impact on the game. Finally, it looks like the fight is going to be wrapped up, and myself and J Monster will start shifting our stuff towards the main course, the main assault of Umbar. And then it will be a 3-way war inside the city. That's where things will get real crazy. Haven Guard making their brave last stand here in the shadow of the Mumakil, the shadow of the dead. I'm surprised at how well these Southron pikemen have actually performed against the Haven Guard. I think they might have actually just stun-locked that unit kind of into oblivion. To be fair, the Haven Guard still got easily over 200 kills, probably more than that. But Southron pikemen actually came out ahead. They vastly outnumbered the Haven Guard, of course. There's no support for them whatsoever. But I guess they kind of stun-locked them, and they might have armor piercing as well. Not 100% sure, but definitely with those fast attack animations, kind of stun-lock the longer attack animations with the two-handed swords, and they actually performed quite well there despite being much cheaper troops. So some Dol Amroth archers engaging the pikemen, and the Haradrim have begun streaming through now. Hung Lo, of course, had already established a foothold within this side of the city, but myself and J Monster now moving our pikemen and our Southron warband and everything that managed to get past the Belaguer footmen into the heart of the Haven of Umbar. And we'll now look to think about ascending that final slope and moving towards the central plaza. We're still a long ways off, still have to fight our way across the bridge, but once we do, we can maybe get some kind of pincer attack off on the Dol Amroth troops that are up at the top of the plaza. Some more archers getting committed into melee against the Muhad Beastmasters and the Muhad Berserkers. And some spearmen also charging into melee as well. And Hung Lo, the big question for him and his army, when will he commit those Mumakil? You know, we just didn't have enough elephants in the Norska DLC. We haven't had enough mammoths. We haven't had enough elephants. So, you know, we needed some more in this third age game. And this is actually the first time on Reforged I've gotten to use Mumakil. I didn't get to use them as well as I wanted to because the Imladris did so well with the jabs, but still super fun to get to use those Mumakil and just seeing them in action. Just so satisfying, seeing them charge into the middle of a bunch of Dol Amroth infantry, just smash them into oblivion. So much fun. And we'll get to see Hung Lo use them, hopefully a little bit. I think he'll have to commit them at some point, right? Up top, at the plaza, we've got a bunch of dismounted Knights of the Silver Swan. And those White Knights trying desperately to push through the Castamir's Chosen and the Corsair Black Guard and the elite that have been kind of garrisoning this plaza. And actually, it does look like there are some Gondorians in the back lines. We'll see them in a second here, but yeah, the men-at-arms, just a press of bodies, a crush of bodies as the brutal combat continues on. Blood spurting everywhere as the knights wade into melee. And yeah, there are some white knights that made it up the back way, actually. And now these warlords of Umbar, the general's bodyguard, are charging into melee here and getting a pretty crappy charge off, actually kind of avoiding the majority of that white knight unit, but did get one rear charge off. And look at the face, oh my god, look at the face of that general, man. Covered in the blood of his enemies, blood drinker. He's absolutely slaughtered a bunch of guys, apparently. So that general is still alive. I think the last one, that might be Karandal's gen, is the only one still remaining for the Principality of Dol Amroth. They still have some troops, they still have some reserves further back in the city. Trebuchet is still around, but I don't know how much ammunition it has left. I don't think it has any. The crew hasn't abandoned their guns yet. And there is that unit of white knights, so he did pull them out eventually after killing all those archers. So we will have some white knights for the late game. And yeah, if I was him, just keep them steady, keep them out of combat for a while, get their stamina recharged a bit, and then you can come at them later on in the fight and maybe turn things in your favor in a crazy engagement. But something special coming here now. The catapult is moving up and moving towards the center of the city. Once it does, there are some choice blobs, some prime targets for the catapult to get some shots into. We'll see if it's able to do so. Beligar halberds are holding the line here for now. Muhad tribesmen and a bunch of the Beastmasters waiting in. And that horde from Hung Lo, just inexorable, unyielding in that assault. They do not care how many of their brethren have been turned into crispy Pop-Tarts. They don't mind, it doesn't matter to them. They're just gonna keep coming. I guess when you're backed up by Mumakil, which are just as likely to stomp you into the ground as your enemies, maybe that's not the best morale bonus, but they don't seem to mind. Their leadership has hung pretty nicely throughout this fight. They've managed to stick in there, and their morale is still holding strong. White Knights are doing quite a bit to the Black Guards in the background. I don't know if they have any more jabs left. Some close quarters jab work would do a number on those Knights for sure. And my J Monster's catapult is moving up. That is going to be an important factor if it's able to get good shots in, but there are still cavalry units on the field for both the Haven of Umbar and for the Principality of Dol Amroth that could silence it. So that will be a big question. Can they kill the catapult? Will they even notice it in time? Don't know yet. One exhausted, poor serpent guard managed to make it out. All his brethren are dead. All of his friends and his loved ones smashed, destroyed, decapitated, dismembered in the fight against the Dol Amroth Knights at the river. And I'm not even sure he wants to be alive at this point. That is, he's seen some shit, that's for sure. He's definitely seen some stuff, man. Alright. So, here we go. White Knights getting a rear charge off, but so few of them still left alive after fighting all those Castamir's Chosen in the Haven of Umbar Elite. Not very many of them left. Let's go back into 1 speed here. We've been at 0.7 for a while just to kind of smooth out the FPS drops. We'll go back down a little bit if we deal with any of those frame rate issues again. But it's been relatively smooth. That's a great way in Medieval 2, by the way, if you're ever trying to get into replays. If you're in these gigantic battles, if you want to smooth it out a bit, just slow it down. Use Shift, hit the minimize button on the, or slow down button a bit. Get down to like 0.75, 0.8 speed, and that will kind of slow out some of the choppiness that you might experience in your Medieval 2 replays. And of course, I have a pretty strong computer. It doesn't matter how strong your computer is when there are 25,000 men on the field. You're going to have some issues with frames. And I don't think it's been too bad this game, but it can definitely be a bit of an issue in some situations. So the Trebuchet actually does still have ammunition now, is opening up again at the big Muhad blob of doom and death and destruction. Can they push through before the Trebuchet causes just obscene carnage against the blob? I don't know. But that Trebuchet has done so much work this game. And now the pikeman, general goes down. Last general for Dol Amroth goes down here to the bodyguards of the Haven of Umbar. Point blank volleys from the jabs. Wow. Devastating. I love watching jab units. They're so much fun because they're a super high risk reward unit. That's what I like about them so much more than bow units. I do love my ranger units. I do love the elven archers and all that stuff. But jabs have something, they have a place near and dear to my heart because you have to get in close to use them. And when you get a good jab volley off on something heavily armored like Cav, oh man, you can just absolutely destroy stuff. And it's so satisfying. And so, there's so much risk reward there. It's great. Catapult opening fire now. And some decent shots into the flank of the Umbar troops. And you can kind of see this wedge driven into the center of the Umbar army. Dol Amroth might be able to push through and break the Haven of Umbar and get at the plaza. And if they're able to do that, maybe cap. I think there is a capture point on this map. Maybe not 100%. Not 100% sure on that, actually. Maybe there's no actual ability to cap at the top of the plaza. Either way, if Dol Amroth able... Oh my god. Big shots coming in. Big catapult shots coming in. And actually one for Dol Amroth and one for Umbar.
They have lost half their men.
That's funny. Both took about 15-20 losses from those catapult shots. But if they're able to push through, they'll then be able to take the top of the city and become, or basically fortify their own very defensible position. So that should be Carandol's and Miles Davis's plan of attack. But this is kind of a wet dream again for the Haradrim at this point. With their catapult, they're able to fire into that blob and not care whatsoever. There are none of their troops over in that big engagement. Still going on right now. Honestly, if I was them, I'd probably pull everything out and go deal with the catapult. Neither faction can afford to sit in this blob and just let the catapult rip them apart, because that's gonna happen every single time, man. Look at that. Every single time. There's no way the catapult can miss almost. Like, that's just a gigantic blob of troops. Like, they need to pull out and go engage that. Pull across the bridge, send a cav unit, do something to silence that catapult, or it's just going to punish both armies. And I don't think it's shot this game. I think that catapult has full ammunition. So if it's able, if it's allowed to continue firing in, that could be completely game-changing, for sure. So, and I don't see either Miles, I don't see Carandol. In fact, I don't know what blend of troops each guy has left, but neither of the remaining Dol Amroth players over there have thought about pulling out, and they might not even be able to because they're now Southron warband positioned at the bridge. White Knights have moved in. There is one full unit of halberdiers and the trebuchet coming, although probably very little ammunition left. They could pull across the bridge, but yeah, there's a lot of Haradrim ready to defend the catapult. There are pikemen, there are warband there. It's tough. It's definitely tough at this point. Now, Synn is making his stand here with his Warlords of Umbar getting some downhill charges into the middle of the Muhad blob. And the catapults are still around. Probably still have some ammunition left. Get some really good shots off into the Muhad tribesmen and the Beastmasters who are trying to push through and get to the top of this plaza here. It's not really where the Warlords of Umbar want to be, though. Lots of spearmen, lots of pikemen over there. And across the bridge, the Southron pikemen are engaging. Dol Amroth might be able to push them back there. There are some jabs in support. They were getting some really nice shots off. Again, being a very risk-reward type unit that can get so much damage done against heavily armored stuff. There is some pulling back from the Dol Amroth line. They might be looking to go across the bridge there. Those catapult shots weren't particularly great. Umbar's holding for now, but the defenses are crumbling. No question. Not a lot of defenders left. Frankly, not a lot of attackers left either. Every single side in this engagement has taken so many losses, but the Haradrim might be outmaneuvering the Gondorians right now. Dismounted Serpent Guard about to surround some men-at-arms and pikemen coming in from the rear. That could be disastrous to the defenders on the bridge. Well, I say defenders, but they were attackers when this game started. Kind of functioning as defenders at this point, defending the last plaza. Even kind of helping out the defenders of Umbar as well. But now, stuck between the serrated edges of this pike wall on both sides, and the teeth, the jaws of the Haradrim are closing in around the Gondorians on the bridge. and I don't think they're going to be able to make it out of there. Still somehow eager. Honestly, I do wish morale was a little bit more... it's tough. Okay, so leadership or morale in general, I like it when you can manipulate it a bit. I think it's too easily manipulated in Total War Warhammer, and that's a big reason why some of the battles are so fast. Like, you lose half the unit, and of course in real life that would send any army running for the hills, losing half of your army. But I wouldn't mind if leadership was a bit stronger in Total War Warhammer, because it means that battles will last a bit longer. But I think in Reforged, might be a little bit too good. Even the low tier stuff just kind of fights to the death, which does make for very cinematic battles. So from that standpoint, it's awesome. From the other standpoint, when you completely surround and outmaneuver your opponent, you kind of do expect to occasionally get some routes going, and it doesn't really happen in Reforged. So I guess it's there's good and bad with it. But the Mumakil are coming now. The scariest shock troops in all of Middle-earth are here. The Oliphants. No one at home will believe this. They are going to be a problem for every single faction, besides the Haradrim, of course, that are currently fighting over Umbar. And is there anything left that can take them down? The Trebuchet is still alive. It might be able to get some shots in the catapult. Hasn't fired over here. I don't know if that thing still has any ammunition. It's probably out at this point. But the Mumakil are stomping through, making their presence felt 1,000 times over with gouging tusks and truck-sized feet that can turn even the bravest, most heavily armored warrior into mush. And they made mincemeat of that front line. There isn't a front line anymore. Don't think they can actually friendly fire their own troops when they stomp through, but they will disrupt their own formations. And I think they killed pretty much everything they just stomped through. And now, the warlords of Umbar, at the pinnacle of their city, have a decision to make. Commit ritual Sudoku in the gardens, the water gardens at the top here, or face down the rampaging Mumakil, who might have a bit of pathfinding issues as they make their way to the top of the plaza. But I don't... Man, if I was those warlords of Umbar, like, I don't blame them for what they were doing a second ago, which was hiding, but they have sallied out now. They're consigned to their fate, realizing there's nowhere to go, and there's nothing on this side of the field to bring down the Mumakil. Now, on the other side, now, by the way, this is cannon fodder. Yeah, this is cannon fodder. This was not Synn, so my bad, cannon fodder. This has been cannon fodder on this side of the field. His warlords of Umbar will die. He did a great job in that choke point, slaughtering a bunch of the Muhad troops. At the end of the day, though, his defense is crumbling. It will be up to Synn or up to the Knights of Dol Amroth to stop the armies of Harad. There's really nothing left over on cannon fodder's side to defend with. And the Mumakil broke the backs of the defenders there, and now the Muhad tribesmen move across the bridge. Handful of halberdiers holding the line here against a dismounted Serpent Guard. I wonder if that one Serpent Guard guy is still around. I would imagine he's probably over by the catapult. He's seen enough. He doesn't need to wade into melee at this point. He's done enough for our cause. And the balance bar shifting in the Haradrim's favor. Knights of Dol Amroth have been beaten to hell. Looks like Synn of the Dark Cloud and his Corsairs might be able to hold off the tides, maybe. I don't know, that's actually a super even fight. Okay, he has some more Corsair Blackguards in the background, a full unit of those. That's probably enough to win this fight. But I don't think the Haradrim are going to let that happen anyway. Southron pikemen are pushing forward their inexorable advance, about to meet the remnants of the defenders here below the plaza. And it's been absolute bedlam throughout this battle. Carnage. And now the catapults open fire again. No mercy whatsoever. Still immolating, still burning anything they get their hands on. And there's just not a whole lot left from the defenders here. But it's been interesting, man. There were so many moving pieces in this fight. So many engagements going on all over the battlefield. We had this is the coolest thing about the scenarios. We had two open field land battles. One really big one with Son of Ladris over by the river. There have been a couple of more open-y battles, like inside the city, but in the more open plazas. Some fights over the bridges. Every single choke point, every single part of this map has been utilized. And it's still not over yet. There's still so much fighting going on all over the city. Haven of Umbar still standing strong for the moment, but the Haradrim do look like they might be in the ascendancy unless something crazy can happen. But that's the beauty of these scenarios, right? Not only do you get that massive scale, that epic combat with when you get 20, that is like guaranteed to happen when there are 22,000 men on the field, but you can shift from a land battle out on the open plain to a siege battle where everyone's fighting tooth and claw in these brutal choke points while trebuchets and catapults pound these massive blobs into oblivion. It's just being able to shift tactically from one side of a battle that's very different to another side of the battle that's a very different style of combat. It just makes for fantastic gameplay. It really does. So I do always feel privileged to be able to play these kind of scenarios. They're just so much fun. They're so much fun. But the remnants of the Dol Amroth army are still fighting it out. We're not done yet. Both the defenders, the Haven of Umbar troops, the Corsairs, the ancestors of Castamir the Usurper are still around, still fighting to the death, and we will not skip out on their brave last defense. But there's no mercy from the Haradrim. There's no mercy from the Mumakil. Javelins have flanked around behind the knights, the White Knights, and the Tiranar, I don't know, I think that's Tiranar Spearmen. Might be pronouncing that wrong, probably am. Now, Lord of the Rings pronunciations are not incredible. We're going to get some nice jab shots in the back, though, where their shield block chance will count for nothing. And armor-piercing jabs can do some damage to heavily armored troops. General goes down. Final one. So, I think I might have actually said that a general for Dol Amroth died 4 times that game. Not 100% sure. If I did, my bad. Sorry about that. But anyway, if not, there was a third one to go down because there were 3 gens for Dol Amroth, and I believe that was... Oh, you know what? I called, it was J Monster's general who died earlier in the fight in the open plain that was not Son of Imladris'. So Son of Imladris' gen just went down. Again, not a big deal. Morale shocks do not matter in 3rd Age Reforged, really, especially not for the high tier stuff. But the gen goes down. Some really brutal javelin volleys from behind. And the pikemen hold the choke point there, making sure that any cav that might try to come around the flank, which I think Synn is sending his remaining warlords of Umbar around the flank, trying to get in behind these troops. But now we're going to turn on the flaming arrows, just to get a cinematic shot, really torture the remnants of the Haven of Umbar defenders, you know? Like, we really want to just set them on fire. You know, make some Corsair barbecue. And so, with the light show, the firework display that's happening here at the end of the game, as the balance bar shifts unyielding towards the Haradrim, we'll now engage with our dismounted Serpent Guard, and the pikemen, and the warband, and the remaining troops, and try to finally finish off this Corsair Haven and take the city. It has been a Pyrrhic victory at best, utter disaster for all sides involved, as pretty much every 3rd Age Reforged siege has ever been. It's never easy, right? It's never going to be just a complete stomp, because the way these scenarios are set up, it's just, the cities are too brutal. They've got fantastic choke points, they've got really powerful defender armies, but in this case, I guess we can say defenders never win. We can meme that up. Defenders never win, attackers always win. But no, I think the biggest thing is that, number one, this could totally have gone anyway, with some changes. I think one of the biggest issues that the Dol Amroth players faced there, and I understand they were stuck between a rock and a hard place, not an easy decision whatsoever, but once they realized that catapult was tearing into them and the Umbar troops, oh my god, a Mumakil goes down as the charge comes in. Let's focus on this real quick. Big charge from the Mumakil. General goes down from Synn the Dark Cloud as they charge into the Spear Warband. And Mumakil will stomp the remaining defenders into the ground and win the day. Actually, there's Synn's death. The other one was Cannon Fodder's death. Wow, crazy battle. But, yeah, like I was saying, I think that once they realized the catapult was tearing into both blobs, it's just not beneficial for either side, Umbar or Dol Amroth, to stay in that fight, right? Like, you're not going to push through in time. Reforged morale and defense values and armor values are too good to expect to just completely overwhelm the defenders there when there are still that many left. You got to pull out, and you've got to come up with some way to get at the attackers. Get at the Haradrim there and kill that catapult, because it caused so much carnage in that blob. Killed a lot of elite units, like Knights of the Silver Swan. Killed some dismounted knights as well. Hundreds of kills at least. And you just can't afford that. You cannot afford that if you're going to win the game. So there weren't a lot of Haradrim left, honestly. But there was a full unit of Mumakil, which again, sounds like a lot, but one Jav unit. We saw what Dol Amroth did to the Mumakil. Like, one Jav unit could be enough to finish them off. So just seeing a full unit of Mumakil there may be a bit misleading. But the Haradrim are going to take it. My army ended up getting about 2,200 kills. Same with the J-Monsters, and the Muhad army got a little bit less. Synn and Cannon Fodder both easily over 3,000. Actually, one of them over 4,000. Don't know if that was Cannon Fodder or if that was Synn. And then Sunbeam Ladris and Miles and Davis and Corondal all got decent-ish kills, but nothing really spectacular there. And maybe if they had invested more in the fight on the open plains and finished off the Haradrim and prevented them from entering the city at all, could have been a different battle as well. That's the cool thing about these scenarios. You can really change, just one little change in how you decide to tackle the engagements can completely change the outcome of the battle. And so I think maybe Miles and Davis engaging across the river could have maybe changed things. Certainly helped Son of Ladris win. But yeah, the Mumakil each got over 200 kills pretty easily. Crazy battle. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. Super fun. And I'll be bringing you some more 3rd Age Reforged content very soon. See you guys next time. Indie Pride, signing out for now.